poems were examined in the 2024 preparatory examination. This is the question paper from the province of KZN. We are going to look into the sampled poem today, sampled what life is really like, as well as in verse 8. And before you can go to the questions, I believe that you have done your analysis. You went through the analysis itself, figurative expression there, messages in the poems, as well as the themes and poetic devices that were used to write that particular piece. Thereafter, now let us study the brain of the examiner to understand what is that is expected from you as a grade 12 candidate, and what are the possible questions that you should expect, or the level of questioning that you should expect rather, in grade 12 final papers. And perhaps also look into the mistakes that you came across, the mistakes that you committed during the preparatory examination when answering poetry, so that now you can use the pointers, if not the nuggets that I'll share with you, to correct yourself before sitting for final examination. I'm not going to go through the poem because we just recently did in verse 8. Now we just outrightly go to the questions. The first question was in a form of incomplete sentences, where you were also provided with words to fill in the sentences so that they make sense. And what is important is that you must not guess the words. You must read the paragraph and the sentences to understand the logic behind it, so that you can choose the appropriate words and collect the first 4 marks, which I believe is nothing but collectible marks. There's 4 marks. The poem is about the of the stream as it races down the hillside. The stream water is by the dark lake. He further describes the magnificent along the stream. The speaker wonders what the world will be like if nature is. So indeed, when you look into the words, the poem is about the beauty of the stream. So the appropriate one, it will be the word beauty of the stream. As it races down the hillside, the stream water is subdued. The correct word here is going to be subdued. It will be B. By the dark lake. He further described the magnificent vegetation. Remember, not only does he celebrate the beauty or he shows how the water runs down the hillside from the to the lake, but he also focuses our attention towards the end of the poem to the plants surrounding the lake at the riverbank, which is what vegetation, which refers to the plants that he talks about in the poem. And then, of course, the last one, it will be the speaker wonders what the world would be like if nature is destroyed. Because towards the end, the poet makes a humble plea that we must not destroy nature, but rather leave it unharmed. Okay, so this will be your first 4 collectible marks. Questions of this fashion or of this nature, is important that you read so that you select the appropriate word. And after choosing a word connected to the sentence, read it with the sentence so that you check if the word that you have chosen indeed is the accurate one. Remember, we are here to learn how to collect marks. Okay, now let us move along. Now, examiners normally would say refer to a particular line, always when asking questions around the poem. They'll say refer to line 1, refer to line 1. Refer to line 3 in Coop and identify the figure of speech used in this line. Explain why the figure of speech is relevant in this line. Now, I always emphasize this, that you should expect questions around poetic devices or figure of speech, and succeeding questions should be on their effectiveness. The wording might be different. Another year, they may say explain the effectiveness, or explain why is the poetic device relevant, why did the poet use it, is still the same as explaining the effectiveness of the figurative expression. Once more, grade 12s do not give the definition when you get to the B aspect. The first aspect, they will say identify the figure of speech used. You identify. The second one is to explain the effectiveness. Do not define. We are not looking for a definition of the figure of speech, but the effectiveness. How is this figure of speech used in that particular sentence? And what was the reason or the importance of using that particular figure of speech? Not to define the figure of speech. That's where most of the learners seem to get it wrong. They would want to offer a definition, and there's no way that the examiner can ask you to define. So whenever you are asked to refer to a particular line, please don't assume that you already know the poem. Go back to the line again and then read the line before those ones so that you try to remember the idea, because in some poems, poets will use enjambment, where one line connects, the idea of one line connects with the idea of the succeeding line. So it's always important to go back and refer back to the poem again. So we are going to go to line 3 in the poem and try to identify the figure of speech and therefore explain their effectiveness. And bear in mind, by just identifying its 1 mark, and for fully substantiating the effectiveness or explaining why, if not the relevance of that figure of speech, you are going to score yourself 2 marks. So please check mark allocation, interpret questions accordingly, because it says explain why. It means that you must give a reason, right, as to why that particular figurative expression is effective for that particular line. Okay, now let us go to line 1, 2, and 3, and but bearing in mind that our focus is in line 3. This darksome bun, horse brown, his rolled rock high road, rolling down, in coop and in comb, the fleece of his foam. Remember here, the speaker was describing the stream, as we have already indicated when we were doing our analysis, right? He was explaining the stream, which is the water flowing down to the lake, from the hillside to the lake, and he says that he is roaring down, which means he's talking about the water. And then not only is it rolling down amongst the rocks, because it passes through the rocks, it says that what in coop and in comb. The word comb, it will mean that to move freely, as we have already stated in our analysis. And then in coop, it means that in a hollow, to create what? A hollow. So now it says that in coop and in coop, the fleece of his foam. Now the examiner is looking for the figurative expression used. By virtue of using a personal pronoun his, this qualifies the statement or the line to be what? Personification. Personification. Because the water has been given human quality with the ability to move freely, as well as having what? Foam. Because a human being can have foam, right? And then again, not only is it a personification, but it is also qualifies to be what? A metaphor, right? Because the manner in which the water moves, it moves creating a hollow, but also what in comb, comparing to somebody who moves freely, and then who's having a fleece of his foam. Now, what qualifies the line to be personification is for the mere fact that the manner in which the water moves, when it gets down to the lake, it forms what? A foam. And then that foam is compared to a fleece, which can be something that is smooth. And what it says, because of it says his foam, water has been given human quality with the ability to form what? Foam. But again, it is a metaphor, given the fact that the manner in which the water rolls down, running down or moving down or passing by the rocks, it forms it forms coop and in comb. Remember I said it when you moves freely. So water is compared to someone who moves how? Freely. To the effectiveness of this figure of speech is to explain the frantic movement of water as it moves high, as it moves high from the hillside down to the lake. Okay, it forms a hollow, sort of like a circle, an enclosed circle, as well as to comb. It means it moves how? It moves freely. So that is how you can answer the question. You identify, then you explain the effectiveness. Now it says, what does pitch black in line 7 suggest about the lake water? Right, let us go back to the poem. A wind puffed bonnet of fawn frond, that's when the water moves down to the lake. It forms a shape of a woman's bonnet that is blown by the wind. Tense and twinkle, it means that it was moving frantically. Over the broth, it means a brown soup, that is the color of the water there. Of a pool so pitch black, fell frowning, it rounds and rounds, despair to drowning. Now, the water here is described as being pitch black. In literal sense, it means that the color of the water is black. It might be that the color is because it is muddy, the appearance, but also it means that the water is somehow frightened, figuratively, because of a pool so pitch black, fell frowning, right? So it means that the water may be, or it appears to be black, which can be because of other vegetations affected the natural looking of appearance of the water, and then therefore now the water is a bit darker. Again, it can also imply that the water seems to be frightened. Remember the movement here where it says that a wind puff bonnet or fan front turns and twinkles. In our analysis, we analyze turns and twinkles, that it's a very dangerous frantic move that also couples with the fact that it's a movement of water coupled but also blown by the wind. So where it falls to be what? Pitch black. This might imply to the appearance of water, as well as the fact that the water may seem to be how frightened because of its frantic movement. And then in line 8, the question is interesting. It says, it runs and runs in despair to drowning. Discuss the irony in this line. Whenever you are asked to discuss the irony, it means that you say something but you imply the opposite of what you are saying. The meaning is quite different, or is the opposite of what you are saying. So it means that both sides must be presented, means negative and positive. To make it simpler for you, negative and positive, to say this is what it means, but in actual sense this is what it means. So you must present both sides so that you can successfully respond to the question of irony. Now, as I've said, that the best way when answering a poem, it is always important to go back to the line and also remind yourself as to what was happening in this particular stanza, what is the message in that particular stanza or particular line, so that you can be in a position to successfully respond to the question. Now let us go to line 8 and check why is line 8 ironic. All right. Now, remember earlier on we discussed why we said that the wind is, pardon me, the water appears to be pitch black, fell frowning, it rounds and rounds, despair to drowning. Despair to drowning. Now, why is the statement ironic? The water moves, it twinkles, moving frantically blown by the wind. It also appears to be pitch black, fell frowning. Now, upon arriving at the lake, not only does it move or flow rather so dangerously or energetically, but then it says that it does what? It rounds and rounds. Not only is this movement of water rounding, but despair. In a state of despair, it means that without hope. But despair to what? To drowning, as if somebody was dying. Okay. Now, the question would be, why is the statement ironic? All right. You look into stanza 2 itself, and if you're not sure, or if you're not certain, please go back to the analysis, because with this poem you need to be sure. Go back to the analysis, the video where we analyze, so that you thoroughly understand the message in stanza 2. Now, we'll say that it is ironic to say the river water gets drowned as it is consumed by or get mixed with the lake water, as it is only human beings and animals that can get what? Drowned, right? Or alternatively, you can say it is ironic for the stream water to be subdued by the lake water because it looks intimidating and frightening as it flows downhill at an exceedingly high speed. The first portion, we said it is ironic to say the river water gets drowned as it is consumed by or get mixed with the lake water. There's no way that a river water can get drowned or subdued by the lake water, as it is only human beings and animals that can get what? Drowned. So I've presented the negative, the other portions that only human beings or animals can get drowned. So therefore, it is so ironic to say lake water and the river water, or the lake water can be subdued or be drowned by the lake water. That's why the line 8 is ironic. Okay, and then it further says, refer to line 13 to 16. What does this line suggest about the speaker's attitude towards nature? Substantiate your answer. Again, you check is 2 marks. So let us go to line 13 and 16. What will the world be once bereft of wet and of wilderness? Let them be left, wilderness and wet. Long live the weeds and the wilderness yet. In our analysis, we agreed that the last stanza is actually a plea that further shows the depth of the speaker's admiration towards nature, as he continues to plead that, using a very powerful, thought-provoking rhetorical question, that what will the world be once bereft, comparing the absence of nature to one person who is in bereavement, mourning the person who has died, right? And when you are bereaved, it means that you are in pain. You have lost an important figure of your life. So by comparing the bereavement of what human being normally goes through when we lose our loved ones to how one can also be bereaved in the absence of nature, that further shows the depth of his admiration and love for nature. Now, what the examiner was looking for in this particular question is to, what does this line suggest about his attitude? So you need an adjective here. You would need an adjective. Remember, is a describing word. You need an adjective to describe the poet's attitude. After describing his attitude, the examiner went further to say substantiate. Then you are going to provide what's a reason as to why you picked up that particular word to describe his attitude. Now, you can say that he's a lover of nature. It suggests that the speaker likes nature, the speaker is infatuated with nature, admires nature. That alone is a split mark. 1 mark it will be for the description of the attitude. And wishes, and then to substantiate is that not only is he using a powerful rhetorical question, but towards the end, he does indeed plead that we should let nature be and not tamper with it and not harm it. All of these that I'm saying, I'm not picking them up or deducing them up just from there or thumb sucking them from my ideas. They are the very same ideas that are stated in the poem. Hence, I say when you answer poetry, always go back to the poem. That's where you are going to get your answers from. To further simplify is that you are simply reiterating what the speaker or the poet has said in your own words, and you provide answers saying the same things that have been stated by the poet, and that is how you successfully respond to the questions of poetry. Let me just repeat for those who may not capture it the first time. We said the irony part is the fact that the attitude of the speaker is that of admiration towards nature, if not love towards nature, because in the last stanza he does plead that we should let nature be and not harm it, right? And then one of the themes in the poem is nature conservation. Discuss the theme. Whenever you get to the question like this one, where you are asked to discuss the theme, please use evidence from the poem. Provide evidence in your discussion. Don't just use opinions. Use facts. And where are you going to get facts? Facts are just lines from the poem itself to support your substantiation. Now, you are going to look into particular lines that really help to drive the point of preserving nature, and we've got quite a number of them. An example can be: the speaker is concerned that the beauty might fade away or disappear because of civilization or industrialization. The speaker is appealing to human beings to preserve nature because the world will lose its beauty. It is deprived or stripped if it is deprived or stripped of natural features like rivers, lakes, and wild plants. The speaker expresses loyalty and love for nature and wishes for it to live forever. That's how you can discuss the theme. And I would say, in literature, don't say anything that you do not have evidence of. Exactly the same lines that I've said. Let us make an example now using evidence from the poem. We say that the speaker is concerned that this beauty might fade away, as he uses a rhetorical question in line 13 to ask what the world would be like if one is bereft. I've used evidence to substantiate my response. He further appeal to human beings to preserve nature because of if the world will lose its beauty, or it will be deprived or stripped of natural features like rivers. The speaker expresses loyalty and love for nature and wishes for it to live long, as stated in line 16, to say, "Long live the woods and the wilderness yet." And if you want to delve deeper into literature aspects and dynamics, you can even use figurative expressions when you discuss theme to say, in line 16, for an example, the speaker used alliteration, right? We've got L here, we've got L here, we've got W here, you've got W here, which to form alliterative sounds with the idea to drive the point home that one should let, or we should preserve even the weeds, which are normally unwanted plants, but in the context of the poem, they are regarded as important plants, because he says, or he pleads rather, to say that we must let them live, not only live, but long live. Okay, so every time when you say a statement or opinion, try to say for as stated in line mamang to support what your response, so that you have a rich and well substantiated response. Okay, and these are higher order questions, grade 12. There's no way that you can respond to question 6.1 and 6.7 with only one line or one sentence. These are higher order questions. Whenever you see the operating word being or the operating or instructional verb being discussed, it means that you need to go all out in your response. The poem has successfully captured the essence of the beauty of nature. Discuss your view. Here you may say yes or you may say no, but remember, we don't mark this. What we mark your reason. We mark your substantiation. Okay, the same way that I've shown you how to discuss here. Look into the ideas or sentences that fully capture the essence of beauty, where the poet demonstrates the beauty of nature. Use those lines to fully substantiate to get how many? 3 marks. So for me, if I would say it's 3 marks, we can go as far as having 3 facts or well-rounded ideas, but not just small or scanty response of only partially answered questions, where you only say yes because he talks about the energetic movement of the river, then you end there, whereas the marks are 2 marks. For that, remember, it's an open-ended question, so you must fully substantiate in order to obtain the full 3 marks. Now let us look into the ideas that we can use to substantiate, and bear in mind that questions of this nature, you are allowed to say either yes or no, but don't rush to say yes, don't rush to say no. Check where your strength is. Are you able to fully substantiate the no part, or are you able to fully substantiate the yes part? And I can safely say that just say yes, so that you can go and borrow the same ideas that are in the poem to substantiate your responses. And your ideas can be: the speaker successfully captured the speed with which the stream water flows down into the lake and lake water. And that is, of course, line 1 and line 2, right? The description of the beautiful boni, which are the vegetation around the riverbed, and red berries, which as being the beets, has also been given, right? And then thirdly, the beauty of the hillside as it covered with dew in the morning, when the stream water flows through it, also successfully captures the reader's attention. So can you see how many facts I have? I've mentioned 3 aspects that qualifies at this point to successfully embrace the beauty of or if not the essence of the beauty of nature. Or alternatively, you can say no. Nature includes animals and rocks as well. However, nothing has been said about them in the poem. The poem captures the frightening appearance of the lake, somehow saying the lake that is pitch black also, and frowning, which are negative connotations, rather not even serving the beauty or to embrace the beauty of nature. It further says that the stream water is full of despair, which is the state of hopelessness. Okay, and then and the water is also subdued, using personification and metaphor to say the water is it's rounding and rounding and drowning, and which also implies negative connotation to say the water is somehow disappearing, because drowning can be compared to death. So therefore, those lines do not even begin to embrace the essence of the beauty of nature. Can you hear in the 2 responses I fully substantiated, but not only did I rely on my own opinion, I have borrowed ideas from the very same poem that I've read. Everything that you say in literature or anything that you argue it on the footing of, or sorry, on the basis that you have facts, and where are you going to get the facts from? The source, and the source indeed is your poem. Thank you.